once again. Good morning, everyone. Okay, let's move on for the trends in American realism. What are those trends during American realism? First is the growth of investigative journalism and the rise of macrakers. Okay, but first, what are those macrakers? Macrakers are those American journalists and novelists of the first decades of the 20th century who exposed corruption in big business and government. Macrakers are those writers wherein their literary works is focusing on the social issues that especially corruptions that need to be awakened to the mind or that need to be employed in the mind of the people in their society. And then move on for the prominent person during that time. He is Theodore Roosevelt. But first, who is Theodore Roosevelt? Theodore Roosevelt is often referred to as a Teddy or by his initials TR. Was an American politician, statesman, soldiers, conservationist, naturalist, historian, and a writer who served as the 26th President of the United States from 1901 to 1909. He is also the one who invented the term in a 1906 speech, agreeing with some of the Macrakers' findings but deploring the methods as irresponsible sensationalism. And then he alluded to the man with a Macrack in John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress in 1678, who could look only downward as he steered the field, unable to see the heavenly crown held above him. Macracks appeared at the moment when journalism was undergoing changes in style and practices. So those Macrackers or Macracks are exposing themselves or arose when journalism was there is a changes in the style and practices in writing their literary pieces or arts. One of the objectives of those writers or macrakers is to write in order to change the society. Most especially, they are going to figure out some social issues just like corruption that need to be exposed during that time because corruption is one of the most rampant during the American realism. Their work reached a massive audience as circulation figures of the magazine rose an account of visibility and public interest. Most of their literary pieces or artworks or literary texts is published in a magazine or a newspaper in order the public will be aware with regards the social issues that is existing or arising in their society itself. And then one of the first McCracken article during that American realism is written by Claudia H. Wetmore and Lincoln Stephens. This article entitled 3 Days in St. Louis. So this article is focusing on the corruptions in terms of the businesses in the government, the corruption in the society wherein they belong. And it is published in Mackler's October 1902. And let's move on for the second trends during American realism. The second trend during American realism is the establishment of a newfound fascination with the camera as means of capturing the realities of a single instant unvarnished by sentimentality. So the existing of a camera is one of a prominent event because through that particular camera or photography is they are able to reproduce or they are able to have an evidence that the evidence that will serve as a proof for them in order to prove that the existing or the social issues or the phenomena in a particular field is existing. When photography was first invented, one of its main objectives was to reproduce reality, a landscape, a person, an object, so on and so forth, accurately creating a good likeness, just like what I've said earlier or previously. Let's move on for the third trends during American realism is the existing of popular literature and more on detective stories. Okay. The realist novel first developed in the 19th century and is the form we associate with the works of writers such as Austen, Balzac, George Eliot, and Tolstoy. Actually, these prominent authors or these realist novels is to be tackled by Miss Rose and Cortez. But however, I just want to give you a short introduction or a background with regards this following novelist. Si Austen is also known as Jane Austen, a novelist known primarily for her six major novels. And si Balzac, his real name should I say, is Honoré de Balzac. He is regarded as one of the founders of realism in European literature. And si George Eliot, her real name is Mary Ann Evans, and George Eliot is just a pen name. And she is an English novelist, a poet, a journalist, translator. She is known for the psychological depth of her characters and her descriptions of English period life. And last but not the least is Tolstoy. Tolstoy, his name is Leo Tolstoy, is born in an aristocratic family in 1828. His notable works inculcate the novels War and Peace. And moreover, according to Bartes, the narrative or plot of a realist novel is structured around an opening enigma, which throw the conventional cultural and signifying practices into disarray. When we say enigma, a sequence or a plot of a particular story that hard or not easily to understand or explain. And then, furthermore, in a detective novel, for example, the opening enigma is usually a murder or a thief. And then also, the event threw the world into a paranoid state of suspicion. The readers and the protagonist can no longer trust anyone because signs, people, objects, words are no longer have the obvious meaning they had before the event. So those following elements is already introduced before the literary context or the content of a particular text is being introduced. But the story must move inevitably towards closure, which in the realist novels involves some dissolution or resolution of the enigma. The murderer is caught, the case is solved, the hero marries the girl. So, those popular literatures, even though it is a detective stories, there is still an happy ending. Okay, to give you a summary with regards to the trends in American realism, those are first, the first trend is the growth of investigative journalism and the rise of macroquarters. The second one is the establishment of a newfound fascination with the camera as means of capturing realities of a single instant unvarnished by sentimentality. And the existing also, the third one is the existing of popular literatures and common is the detective stories is being made of. So that's all. That would be all, everyone. Those are, should I say, those are the trends in American realism. And thank you for listening. And now on, let me give the spotlight for Miss Cortez for those realist novel. Thank you, everyone.